Hello, welcome to the English Language Club. What are auxiliary verbs? They're sometimes called helping verbs, but they can seem complicated and illogical. In this video, we're going to see that auxiliary verbs are actually the most important thing for getting tense right. If you really want to improve your English, then make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss future videos. Also, stay tuned at the end of this video because we've written a course called Inside English, which is designed to help you make tense make sense. There are a lot of things that make tenses seem complicated, like rules and exceptions and irregular verbs. But underneath all of that, there is a logic, and that is what we focus on in Inside English. So keep watching for more about that, but for now, let's get back to the video. By itself, a main verb tells us what action is happening. Tense is a way of communicating extra information, like when that action is happening. So by definition, it makes what we're saying more complicated by adding information. For most people, tense is one of the most difficult parts of learning English. When people learn English, there's often too much emphasis on the form of the main verb. This leads to confusion because it's actually the auxiliary verb that tells us more about the tense. This is the third big idea of our course, Inside English, that auxiliary verbs are the most important thing to get tense right. Let's look at some examples. Let's say someone asks you, "Do you take English classes?" You could answer that question in several different past and present tenses. I did take English classes. I do take English classes. I was taking English classes. I am taking English classes. I had taken English classes. Or I have taken English classes. Now, let's look at the pattern here. There are three different forms of the main verb: take, taking, and taken. And there are lots of different forms of the auxiliary verbs: did, do, am, was, had, and have. But let's take away the main verb and the rest of the sentence for a moment. Is just the auxiliary verb enough to figure out what tense each of these sentences use? Yes, it is. To know the tense, we need to know two things: the time of action, past, present, or future, and the type of action, which could be simple, continuous, or perfect. There are three different auxiliary verbs here: do, be, and have. So there's one for each of the different types of action. The verb do, so do and did in the past, go with the simple type of action. The verb be, so here was and am, go with the continuous type of action. And the verb have, so had and have, go with the perfect type of action. Because there's one auxiliary verb for each of the different types of action, we know the type of action just by looking at the auxiliary verb. So what about the time of action? Can we see what time of action is used based on the auxiliary verb? Yes, we can. In the past tenses, the auxiliary verb uses its past form. So do becomes did, be becomes was or were, and have becomes had. So yes, we normally change the auxiliary verb, not the main verb, to make tense. Now this can be confusing because sometimes with the simple tenses we don't actually say the auxiliary verbs, but this only happens with simple tenses. So if this is the case, we know it's a simple tense. And then we can just look at the main verb to know if it's past or present. But this is really just an irregularity of the past and present simple tenses. The problem is that because these two tenses are very common, it can seem like there's no logic to how tense works. But there is, and it's really all about the auxiliary verbs. So, what is the tense for these sentences? I did take English classes. The auxiliary verb is did, which is the verb do. So it's a simple tense. And then the time of action is past. So because it's the past form did rather than do, so the tense is past simple. I do take English classes. It's do again, so it's simple again. And this time it's present, so it's present simple. I was taking English classes. Now the auxiliary verb is from the verb to be, so the time of action is continuous. And was is a past form of the verb be, so it's past continuous. And I am taking English classes would be present continuous, because am is the present form of the verb to be. In I have taken English classes, had is from the verb have, so it's a perfect type of action, and had is past, so it's a past perfect. And finally, I have taken English classes, have makes it perfect again, and it's present, so it's the present perfect. So you can see that the auxiliary verbs are the most important thing to get tense right. The entire tense of a verb can be determined just from its auxiliary verb. Which auxiliary verb you use tells you what type of action it is, and what tense it's in shows the time of action. So look, you can't tell the tense just by looking at the form of the main verb. The ing form can also be used to make a gerund, which is not really a verb, like in the sentence, I like playing football. The verb in that sentence is like, not play. The past participle form is used in perfect tenses, but it's also used to make the passive voice. Like in the sentence, my car was taken. This sentence is not perfect tense, it's in passive voice. With the simple tenses, it is a little confusing because we do often miss out the auxiliary verb, and then the past tense form of the main verb is more important. But that's really an irregularity of the simple tenses. This structure with the auxiliary verb is still the case, even though it's just that we don't need to say the auxiliary verb, and that's how the tense is working. So paying too much attention to the main verb can't tell us the tense of the sentence. English puts most of the information about tense in the auxiliary verb, and that's where your attention should be. We've written a course called Inside English, and it goes a little bit deeper into these ideas and focuses on helping you make sense of tense. We've noticed that when learning about tenses, students often get overwhelmed because there are a lot of things that make tense seem complicated. But there really is a logic to English. And in order to find it, you have to forget about the exceptions and the dozens of little rules and focus on the basic principles of how it really works. English tenses are often taught as a list of rules to memorize. And when you learn English this way, you quickly get overwhelmed and bored and confused by all the exceptions and the irregularities. So this is actually a really terrible way to understand English, because it makes it difficult to understand how the language actually works. But there is a logic to English, and in this course, that is what we focus on. This course is designed for anyone hoping to improve their English with a particular focus on really understanding the tenses, how they're formed and when to use them. By the end of the course, you'll be able to speak English more comfortably because you understand what each tense means. And you'll instinctively use each tense with the correct form because you'll understand the key ideas of how tenses work. Instead of getting distracted and confused by the things that make tenses seem complicated, we will stay focused on the things that make tense make sense. We've identified 3 key ideas which are often not clearly taught, but they're actually really important. Then we'll look at the main tenses and we'll see how these key ideas apply to all of them without exceptions. So you can be sure that you will use what you've learned every time you speak English. You'll have seen a lot of the content in our free videos like this one, but if you sign up to the course, you'll get all that content delivered within a structure that will systematically help you build on what you already know. You'll also get interactive exercises so you can test yourself and help to retain what you've learned. If you sign up to the course, you'll also obviously help us, so it's a great way that you can support the English Language Club so that we can put out more content in the future. The ideal student for this course is someone who speaks English but gets confused by irregular verbs or lacks confidence because there are too many rules and exceptions to those rules. And because of this, it feels like there's too much to learn. It's not for complete beginners, but anyone who has a pre-intermediate or right up to native speakers will find that Inside English helps to make tense make sense. If you want to know more, then use the link in the description to find out how to sign up. Or you can check out some of our other videos. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you next time.